The sudden death of a school teacher from dengue fever earlier this week is placing medical authorities on the island under a lot of stress. Our attempts to receive a response from the medical sector to explain what the new virus is have not been successful. BCN News instead have been forced to access information from the internet to advise and explain to people of the dengue hemorrhagic fever they claimed a life this week. As it explained, dengue hemorrhagic fever is a severe, potentially deadly infection spread by certain species of mosquitoes. There are 4 different dengue viruses known to cause dengue hemorrhagic fever. This occurs when a person catches a different type dengue virus after being infected by another one sometime before. Prior immunity to a different dengue virus type plays an important role in this severe disease. Early symptoms of dengue hemorrhagic fever are similar to those of dengue fever, but after several days, the patient becomes irritable, restless, and sweaty. These symptoms are followed by a shock-like state. Bleeding may appear as tiny spots of blood on the skin and larger patches of blood under the skin. Minor injuries may cause bleeding. Early symptoms include decreased appetite, fever, headache, joint aches, muscle aches, and vomiting. Worst phase symptoms include restlessness, followed by blood under the skin, rash, and worsening of earlier symptoms. This week's death is the first dengue fatality in Niue in more than 10 years. Dengue fever in Niue reached epidemic proportions several months ago, and public awareness campaigns have been ongoing. This information has been collected externally, as Health Department has not been willing to comment. A bogus email this morning claiming Niue's High Commissioner is in Scotland and need money has been warned by Niue Police not to open or respond to. Many of these scam emails has increased in the last few months, with some on the island actually responding to the requests. However, Chief of Police Mark Chenery has warned all mail recipients of the bogus mails to disregard without response. Most of the previous advice for all residents who access the internet to be aware of emails requesting funds and not to reply to those you do not know. Needless to say, Niue's High Commissioner is still in Wellington and not in Scotland. Most countries in the Pacific region are vulnerable to the threat of cyber crime like that this morning. This is primarily because of a lack of proper legislation and understanding of the danger posed by these crimes. Unfortunately, this is a global problem affecting all countries that have access to mobile phones and internet technology. That is from Siaosi Sovaleni, the manager of the Pacific ICT Outreach at SBC. Mr. Sovaleni stressed the need to raise awareness about this vulnerability and the need to develop measures and appropriate legislative framework that criminalizes the use of ICT for illegal purposes. Mr. Sovaleni explained that while ICT has become increasingly useful to governments to support development, the flip side is that criminals are using the same tools to conduct their activities more efficiently and effectively. The 16th Forum Economic Ministers meeting concluded in Tarawa yesterday. At the conclusion of the meeting, the economic ministers released the Economic Action Plan 2012. The 16th FEM focused on key economic issues of importance to the region, including the implementation of the Waiheke Declaration, broadening of the economic base, strengthening development policy and coordination, climate change financing and access to finance for economic growth. Ministers recognized the importance of the Waiheke Declaration adopted by forum leaders in 2011 to achieve long-term, inclusive, sustainable economic development. Given the increasing digital divide in forum island countries, ministers agreed that further liberalisation should encourage greater levels of infrastructure investment, which is required in the information and communications technology. Niue was represented by one government official. We'll bring you more on this story in our future news bulletin. This week's sitting of the local court, 22 cases were registered to be heard by the Justice Commissioners. However, half of the cases were adjourned to the next court hearing. The majority of the submitted cases involved motor vehicles, with one assault case, also adjourned till the next court hearing. During driving whilst disqualified, driving causing an accident, dangerous driving and excess speeding seems to be the normal occurrences facing many of the motorists, with many convicted this week. However, some of the cases involve motor vehicle warrants and registrations. The next court hearing has been confirmed for the 14th of August. And to end our news bulletin for tonight, the last round of the women's cricket games before the finals took place last Saturday between Hakupu and Avasele and Makefu and Lakepa. Avasele, whose winning streak continued on Saturday, defeated Hakupu with a batting score of 206. Hakupu could not catch the points, completing their innings with 116 points. Lakepa took less effort to rid of their opponent Makefu, who managed only 36 points in their round. Lakepa reached the score with 2 batters out and 2 on the field. This week's game will not take place, but an exciting weekend next Saturday is sure to determine who will take the championship trophy when Alofi and Avasele plays the finals in Liku. Tamakotonga and Lakepa will also battle it out for 3rd and 4th round in Hakupu. That's our news bulletin for tonight. Good evening.